Hmm. Good morning. I think I will talk briefly about that before I get to today's topic. Yesterday or the day before, I think it was the day before yesterday, I posted what I thought was a very funny joke on uh, Facebook. It was showed a picture of four very elderly women, and it described that they met together and talked about what it was like when they were younger. And they were Italian women sitting outside their church, according to the little story that went with the two pictures. In any case, they had always heard about Florida, and they finally got on the internet and they came across St. Augustine, Florida, and a story of the Fountain of Youth. And there was a product offered of water from the Fountain of Youth, and they pooled their money together and they ordered that bottle of Fountain of Youth water, and it really worked. And it showed the after picture of four very bosomly much younger women sitting by a pool. The joke was that you could get that bottle for, I don't remember, $1,000 and something a bottle from the Obama campaign, Change You Can Believe In. And it was a joke. And I was amazed at the few women that took exception to the picture of the bosomly young women sitting by the pool, that was almost pornography that I was posting, and how dare you belittle women. It's never my intention to insult or hurt anybody. Although just expressing yourself sometimes is enough to push some people's buttons and offend them. But in any case, we need to laugh more. And tonight I'm having a program here called Laughology, which will be about half of it will be video, a documentary, and the other half will be experiential. So if you're listening to this and you live in the local area, I invite you to come. But laughter is a very important thing in this whole process of lightening up. And lightening up can be taken in several different ways in the English language. It can be releasing some weight, or it can also mean to make things brighter. In any case, today's topic has nothing to do with what I just said. It's called Soul Fragments, Walk-ins, and Remembering. I was interviewed yesterday by Paul, Andy, and Lisa on Critical Mass Radio out of the UK. It was called the Unpenned Show. And Paul brought up his perception that in the 5 years of his awakening, it feels as if he is remembering. Indeed, that is a big part of the process that is going on at this time. We have all left fragments of ourself along the journey of our soul through time and space. Sometimes those return to us as walk-ins, which was a subject Lisa brought up in relation to Robert Young from Australia. I would also suggest that some of the entities now being channeled are actually aspects of the very individual doing the channeling. There is so much more to each of us than meets the eye. Prior to the interview, I happened to watch one of my favorite channels, Magenta Pixie, and it was one called Are We Celestial? And she was asked, or the 9 were asked, have you ever incarnated as a human being? And the answer was yes, we have done so in the personage or the individual known as Magenta Pixie. Indeed, the 9 are aspects of her, and could indeed actually be aspects of another human being or human beings living somewhere else. Because as creation occurred, there was a fragmentation. in a sense, a separation or a division, or at least that's how it would appear to an observer that didn't understand what was going on. When the Creator actually fragmented and became multiple personalities, the original multiple personality disorder, God becoming everyone. And that's what the 9 is all about to me in the Enneagram. I am a 9 and I see myself in everyone. I mean, I can look at character descriptions or personality or characterizations of different personalities and what they look like, how they appear, and I can say, yeah, I can relate to that. And I get another one that's an 8 or a 7 or a 5 or whatever. Oh, I can relate to that. I can relate to that one. I can relate to that one, because we are all part of the whole, and we each contain the whole. And the journey through time and space, we get to experience different things, different personalities, different mindsets, different religions, different races, different genders. We get to have different sexual orientations and different everything. So that along the way, those of us that recognize that how vast everything is and how much interconnectedness goes on with this vastness, or takes place within this vastness, we realize that I've been there, done that. And virtually every other person is a fragment of me. And I am a fragment of virtually every other person. And we're all together one soul, fragmented, the divine being fragmented, the God, the goddess, the divine, fragmented into many parts. And sometimes in our individual life, in the case of Robert Young, we have an accident. Or in the case of the Apostle Paul, where there is a very obvious transformation of character that takes place in an instant. You can call it an enlightenment. You can call it many things. There was another word that I was looking for, but it doesn't come to me right at the moment. But there's a transformation that takes place, and the personality and the direction that the individual was going is radically transformed, seemingly in an instant. You could term this a walk-in. In the Apostle Paul's case, it was a conversion. Okay, he was converted from being one who was tormenting the Christians to one who was one of the leading proponents of that message in that time frame. In any case, each one of us, you, me, and everyone else, we are much more than what we think we are. We are vast in relationship to what is really us. The little me that's manifested in this physical body is only a fraction of what I really am. I have many gifts, talents, and abilities that go far beyond what I've become aware of in this lifetime, because to become a human means you choose to forget who you were and what you were and how vast and big you were and are. And it becomes were because you forgot. So that creates the time lag. Okay? I was this, but I forgot I was that, and now I'm this, which is a much smaller version of that. A much smaller version, yet it contains it all. Will I discover what it contains? Will I discover what's in me? Will I discover and remember myself? Will I come back to the parts of myself that I left behind? Will I reconnect? This is the awakening process. Recognizing that we are more, identifying with the more instead of the less. We can choose to do either one, and we do, all of us do both. Sometimes we choose to identify with the more, and sometimes we forget that, and we identify with the less. And when we identify with the less, we lower our vibration. It becomes less than what it's capable of being. And it's all part of the experiential journey. Life is nothing if it's not experience. It's experience of many points of view, many personalities, many directions that we take. And that's why spiritual maturity is marked by one who is able to integrate more and more and an ever-increasing amount of the fragmentation of their own soul. That's what it means to become whole. That's what holistic is all about. That's why religion misses the point. Whether it's Christianity or Islam or Judaism or Hinduism or Buddhism, they all leave something out. They all negate something. And it's not about negating anything, this journey of becoming whole. It's about integrating it all. It's about making the unconscious, the part that we forgot, conscious, so that we remember it again. And we become more whole. The more parts of ourselves we can put back together, the more whole we become, the more mature we become. And as we move along that pathway of progression toward maturity, as we follow that process, we become what we always were, which is what God is, which is love. Those that love know God. Those that don't love don't know God, for God is love. Someone posted in one of my groups that I read this morning, and I got up really early this morning. I've been up since, I was awake before 3 o'clock, but I got up at 3 o'clock, just 2 minutes after, I believe. Anyway, he posted on one of those things that he could leave everything else out of the Bible and just have that one verse. Those that love know God. Those that don't love don't know God, for God is love. Well, that's a really, really important verse. I wouldn't leave everything else, and I posted that there's other parts that I wouldn't want to take out of the Bible, but that is a very important part. And somebody else put in that they would leave in the 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians, which is also known commonly as the love chapter. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, it profits me nothing, etc., etc. Anyway, love is the key. And that's what's going on in the awakening as we are remembering, regathering the fragments of ourselves and the lost talents, gifts, and abilities that we've left along the way. We are reclaiming these, and there's nothing that can stop this process, because this is the end game of this phase of our evolutionary process. This is where it's been going for the past several millennia. And it's changing now because humanity is birthing its new self, its higher self, if you will. We're birthing that together. And yeah, it doesn't look like it's happening depending on where you look. Because it's not something that's centered like in one location that you can say, oh, wow, look at that. I mean, isn't that wonderful? Even within local communities, there's still an awful lot of fragmentation going on and not a whole lot of unity. Even in churches that call themselves unity churches, there's sometimes a lot of fragmentation going on, a lot of disagreement, because we're each individuals and we haven't learned how to do the dance yet. So we do the duel instead. Dueling is still an indication that you don't remember who you are. It works that way for me. It works that way for each of us. We don't remember. So there's a part of us that we don't say, well, I am that. I am. We say, I'm not that. I'm not. Instead, you see, and when we do that, we're still operating in the fear mode, in the separation mode, which is the illusion mode. We're still operating there, and that's okay. It's not something to beat ourselves up over. It's part of the process. It's part of the process of remembering, recollecting the pieces and connecting the dots. Okay? It's a process, and we're going through it together. And we're all waking up at different stages. We're all gathering back to ourselves different parts of ourselves so that each part ultimately contributes to other parts around it. Nothing stands alone. Everything is interconnected. Everything is woven together into a beautiful tapestry of life itself, that more and more, as we awaken, we're going to be able to see that tapestry. We're going to be able to see where the journey has taken us, and we're going to oftentimes laugh at the four little old ladies who become the bathing beauty sitting by the pool. Because every one of us, let's face it, would like to be in our physical prime. None of us, I don't believe, like the idea of our bodies getting old and wrinkled and performing less than perfectly. We'd like to, put on the new man, the new woman, and be whole and be vibrant and vital again. Even people in their 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, us old folk, we'd like to go back to where we were more virile and more vital in our activities and in our abilities. One of the reasons some of us don't jump into relationships so easy is because we're not sure of our functionability anymore in that area. And it becomes a real challenge. I know that may not be for anybody else, but it certainly is a consideration of mine. And it's why I become more restrictive in who I choose. It has to be somebody that that pleases my eyes. And if it doesn't please my eyes, forget it, because I think what makes everything work down there is what goes on up here, and what I perceive is what turns me on. So, I didn't even know I was going to get into that subject. That's weird. But in any case, we're remembering. And I do believe that as our soul is restored and as our mind is renewed, our body will automatically become rejuvenated, and we will be able to go back to that fountain of youth and regain some of our vitality that we seem to have lost. I believe that will also be part of the process, and I can't wait for it to happen. I'd love it to happen with me. I'd love to make room in my life to have a little bit more amorousness and a little bit more fun of touching and playing together with at least one other special human being that turns me on and tunes me in to the dimension of my own life force in a way that I haven't experienced for some time. I leave you with these thoughts as I've rambled this morning, and I trust that something that I've said will strike a chord with you, and you will find a resonance that will help you to realize that you are far more than what you may think you are in this moment, and allow for that part of you that is more than what you think you are to come home and find resonance and find residence within your current experience of you, whatever name you choose to call yourself. Namaste. Bless you.